Welcome back to another Vendo podcast. I am super excited to be joined by one of the rock stars on our team, Mark Jordan, one of our Walmart account strategists. Mark, how's it going?
Hey Darren, thanks again for having me on here. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, no, pleasure is all mine, sir. Wanted to regroup with you. I know we've recorded a couple of other podcasts relating to Seller Center, holiday planning, but today's topic I think is critical to be buttoned up on Walmart.com and how do you do that and what does that mean? So some of the topics we're going to cover today are some of the updates relating to the omni merchants. What do you need to know? Item 360 tool rollout, how to use it, best in class, and then item optimization and what all that means in terms of your quality score, locating things, and managing the omni relationship with the quality score in mind. So with that, I'm going to kick it over to you, Mark, and let's talk a little bit about the changes with the omni merchants and what do we know there?
Yeah, definitely. Last time we filmed our last podcast, we talked a lot about what we thought we were, maybe going to learn about what the relationships on the omni world will look like. I think we have a lot more information today. So, kind of just high level, we have these omni merchants. They're called now. It's basically someone who is probably on the store side, most likely, who now is transitioned to a full omni role as the buyer. And they have a few associate merchants under them who operate on specific brands or categories within their space, who are also omni focused for store and .com. So really the whole team now is full-fledged .com and store. It's funny talking with a lot of these X category specialists who are now called associate omni merchants. It definitely seems like I think they're probably a bit overwhelmed at how much they have to learn on the store side now. It's quite a different experience.
Yeah, well, just
But
to refresh our audience's memory, Mark actually comes to us as a former Walmart.com category specialist. We have several on our team. And also for context, this is where in the old world we had Hoboken and San Bruno as the two .com offices for Walmart, where POs and item maintenance and management would centralize through. There's still some of that going on, I believe, but they're kind of shuttering a lot of that to move to the omni-channel program that you just described and outlined, which will be located in the new super headquarters to be built out in Bentonville.
that's correct. Yep. The for those who might have taken an offer from a previous existing just category specialist role or .com buyer role, they'll be moving to Arkansas, Bentonville, the home office to fulfill that omni relationship, but still working from home until COVID passes.
Yeah, and Mark Laurie was the brainchild for the category specialist program. I believe he created it and recruited all this great talent, like the person I'm talking to today. And I think it was good that Walmart did that because it did build out this knowledge base for .com that they can now integrate into their new omni structured environment. So with that, let's talk about some of the new tools outside of the new structure, which item 360, the new roll up there. Talk to me about what's going on with some of the new features and how to best approach item 360.
Yeah, definitely. So, previously, most maintenance for items and item setup was done in Supplier Center. Those features have been stripped away, and the only feature you're really left with is, you can pull your catalog and look at it, but you could upload your DSV inventory or dropship inventory through Supplier Center. But really, anything else really needs to go through the new Item 360 tool and the new features that came into it. That tool's been around for a while, but it hasn't been enhanced to where it is now. So now you're able to do all of your items set up for store, online, whether it's online dropship or online owned. You'll be setting up all your configurations through there. As we know as well, store items get an online presence as well. So it's very important that those items are set up and optimized to at least have some type of presence online that looks and feels its best, while customers can shop and do pick up in store as one of the options. But yeah, there's a lot of good features in there of being able to look at the maintenance of an item. If you want to pull and look at content quality scores, the number of reviews, the average ratings of an item. There's a whole lot of nitty gritty that you can get into. There's been trainings that have come out, and I've sat through a couple, but I think I need to sit through a bunch more, as the tool sounds really great in theory, but it definitely has some complications to it, and a whole lot of learning that I personally think that I need to really get up to speed with it. But it's nothing to fear. I think it's headed in the right direction, but they're gonna definitely continue to build it out and make it better for suppliers. That was the goal but it's definitely got a bit of a learning curve.
Well, as someone who's more familiar with Seller Center on the marketplace side, that I would ask, is Item 360, does it offer a lot of different features from, like, let's say, what you can do on a marketplace setup? Because I know, there's probably a lot of people in our audience that can only do marketplace because they don't have an own relationship or don't have a need for Item 360 today. So for those suppliers that do, is there a lot of additional benefits and features on the Item 360 side?
Yes, and I'll say there's like pros and cons to both. So, Seller Center looks exactly how Supplier Center
Right.
previously would look, and the item setup and maintenance that you would do in either of those is very similar. And on the Seller Center side, you still have those older capabilities. You don't have access to something like Item 360. So if you're familiar with the old process, great. And I think, we're going to talk about something like content quality in a bit, but actually in Seller Center, they have, the new content quality dashboard for you there. And that's something that on the own side, you don't get. So it's kind of funny that each side has, I guess, a good advantage to it. But yeah, you don't, marketplace, you wouldn't get the Item 360, access. It's only on the own side.
Right.
And it's
Yeah.
more related to, sorry, it's more related to really setting up those configurations for Omni.
Gotcha. And
Yeah.
when we talk about OPD and how things populate on site, so when you're setting up through Item 360, I assume it's going to populate for both .com and OPD. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
And I'm sorry, OPD is online pickup and delivery for those who don't know.
Yeah, definitely. When you set your item up, the understanding is that there needs to be like 2 units of inventory in a store in a specific geolocation that you're locked into on the website, and that's how you would get the pickup in store option. And if you do have issues where you're not seeing that appear on the OPD website, we at Vendo will be able to help navigate some contacts there and ping some people to see why it's not pulling in. But a lot of people question why they don't see their items, and sometimes it's just that they're not actually in a store shopping in a store that has the inventory.
Got it. And then from an optimization standpoint inside of Item 360, that SEO or optimization applies to both pickup and delivery as well as .com?
Yeah, that's correct. Same for both. So you would set up your store items like separately, but they would get a .com presence. Now, if you had like someone dedicated to setting up the .com piece, that listing would be combined into the same listing, and it would just apply the pickup and delivery options to the one listing. So you'd be able to optimize that as best as you'd want for both options. It would just live on one listing.
Got it. Okay, interesting. And then so let's talk about some of the item optimization surrounding that. So what is the importance of this from an omni relationship standpoint, first off?
Yeah, definitely. So just to call out a few things that we're learning from merchants of a few pieces that are really, really important to them from an omni angle. So one being a content quality score, and then the second being reviews and ratings. So to dive into the first one, the content quality score, very important as you are doing your item setup or you're doing some maintenance after the item is set up. In Item 360, you can pull your content quality scores and see where you're at. If you're above a 90%, that's really, really great. Merchants, love to see that. I would say anything above 80% is really, really good though. The way that you get to a 80 or 90+% is by having the following. You want to make sure that you have a minimum of 8 or more images on your item. You want to have a fully optimized product title. You have a fully optimized product site description, and then you want to make sure you have a minimum of 3 bullet points fully optimized with copy on the product page as well. So that's specific to just physical content. There's also data attribution that's needed on the back end as well, and that's part of the maintenance piece that you would want to do after your items are already set up. So if you're missing specific things, like if you set up an item and you didn't fill in the age group, whether that was like adult, teen, or child, if you left that blank, that's going to negatively impact your content quality score. So very important that you go and look at the maintenance of your items and fill in as much information as possible to boost your content quality score, because anything that's left out could negatively impact it.
So understood that you've got to add all those things in. Is there anything that's more heavily weighted than the other? Like, as an example, if you have more images versus less copy, or higher reviews versus data attribution, things like that. What is your opinion on what weighs the most within the quality score? Is it there isn't really anything that's heavily weighted.
Yeah, that's a good call out. I would say to get to the 80%, you know, I can't tell you off the top of the head what the weights are, and Walmart doesn't really share that, but definitely, 8 images, well optimized written copy, description, bullets, and title. That's gonna be really important. If you have less than 8 images, it's definitely going to affect you. And I would say all of the main points from data attribution standpoint on the maintenance that you would do, filling in those specific columns, all of the main areas that would relate to your item, as long as you get a lot of those in, I think you should be okay hitting 75, 80%. To really push it to the next level is filling in those granular columns that maybe you just kind of browsed over that you really didn't think were important or that were optional. That's how you get a much higher content score. But there are other things that go into it, such as like how well your resolution of your images are. That could be another piece. If you're not uploading high res images, that could get weighted a certain way. And you can always feel free to ask your merchants to do a content quality score report for you on specific items. They'd be able to have access to a dashboard that they can do a download and tell you maybe if this image isn't fully high resolution or whatever the case may be. That's another kind of secret that you could ask them to help with.
Well, and real quick on one of the other attributes there, the reviews
Yep.
Side of things. If your reviews are less than a certain rating, does that negatively affect your quality score as well?
So it's not at the rating, but it's the number of reviews that could affect the
Okay.
content quality score. At least that's my understanding. I don't believe the rating goes into it. Right now, Walmart's pushing for a minimum of 20 reviews per item and a average star rating of 4 stars. So you might have a lot of reviews. That's great, but if it's not hitting the 4-star mark, not that it may or may not affect the content quality score, but it is going to affect your omni relationship. So I think maybe that's a good leeway into the next piece of why why the content quality score is important and why getting your reviews and ratings up is important.
Yeah, absolutely. And on that, how do you locate your content quality score? Like if
Yeah,
you don't
definitely.
have the buyer running it for you.
Yeah, absolutely. In item 360, you want to make sure that you have your GTINs, UPCs, or Walmart item numbers available. You'll go into item 360 into the maintenance tab, and then you'll go into the product site and experience area, drop in those identifiers, and then you'll get a download of what looks like an item setup sheet, and it'll show you all the information that's in there already, and then you'll be able to fill out the missing columns or attribution points, and then just re-upload the sheet. And that's how you would go about that.
Got it. And the shameless plug for me is, or you could call Vendo and we can help you audit and find that too. So
Absolutely.
real quick, just going back to the data attribution pieces, just to help some of our audience is not visually familiar with it. We're talking about things like, hey, the weight of a product, the makeup of a product, whether it has a battery, doesn't have a battery as an example. Like those are the types of attributions you're talking about, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Things exactly like that. What the finish of a product is, gloss or matte, stuff like that. Those kind of like granular details are sometimes things that don't, you might not be paying attention to because it's it's not required in the sheet. It's an optional data set. So anything like that, age group, the like minimum weight requirements or maximum weight requirements,
Yeah.
things of that nature. Yeah.
Yeah, I only bring it up because from an SEO perspective, I think a lot of people always gloss over those types of things and don't realize that it helps with how people filter their search on site, is really why they ask you for those attributions, right? So if you're searching something that says doesn't have an LED battery or whatever the case is, then it would filter that out if you put that attribute properly associated with your item. So those types of things are critical for SEO. That's why I thought I'd ask and see your take on that.
Yeah, absolutely. No, you're absolutely right. It all pulls into helping not just the SEO of like how people would maybe filter, like you're kind of saying, but
Mhm.
also the internal algorithm that Walmart has for its search will prioritize higher content quality scored items in it. So that's another piece.
Got it. And then real quick before we wrap up on the review piece, going back to that, is it true? I just heard rumors here that they're not going to be accepting syndicated, or they're going to give less weight to syndicated reviews like they were doing before with companies like Bazaar Voice and others, or are they still going to be accepting those towards reviews to be compliant with your quality score? What is your opinion?
I actually haven't come across that yet about anything about ranking it lower. I would say if that is a fear of something like Bizarre Voice, where it's actually pulling reviews off another website, there are plenty of services out there where you actually can, pay people to shop the product directly and leave a verified review. So that might be the way you get around that. But there's, those services do exist. I don't know about the syndication piece if it's going to rank lower, but yeah, that's good to know.
Yeah, it makes sense too, because from an authenticity standpoint, you do want to get newer and fresh reviews versus, hey, just copying over reviews from other sites. So I would imagine
Definitely.
at some point. So yeah, look, as we just finished up a big save week and Prime Day week on the e-com space, going into holiday, I think a lot of these things are critical for not only our clients, but just everybody in general in terms of buttoning up on Walmart. Any key takeaways you want to leave us with here?
Yeah, definitely. I think just really focus on how to optimize your items for fully, whether that's with physical content, data attribution, or ratings and reviews. Your omni merchant's going to be heavily focused in that, especially as they want to take in new inventory. They're not going to be as willing to take an inventory that doesn't have a good content quality score, ratings, or reviews, whether that's for store or .com, vice versa. I would say be very aware of making sure you fill out everything in full. A lot of times you're glossing over it. Just pay attention.
Awesome. Mark, this has been extremely helpful. Where can people find you or reach out to you if they need to have any other questions?
Yeah, you can email me at mark@vendocommerce.com. That's Mark with a K.
All right. I won't share your YouTube channel just yet, but
Yeah.
we'll keep that for another episode. Mark, thanks as always, and please follow Vendo on all your regular social channels. We're also on TikTok now. Check us out at our website, vendocommerce.com. And as always, remember, protect your brand and sell more. Thanks.